Hi, I'm Morgan, and you're listening to My Love Awakening, a writing series that captures a raw and intimate view of the processing and alchemizing I do when it comes to love and relationships. Most importantly, it tells the story of my real-time self-love journey. My hope is these writings can also help you transform into your most free and authentic self. As a creative and theatrical child, my brain was saturated with imagination. I was endlessly creating stories and scenarios. Quick shout out to my imaginary friend who lived in my bathroom. We had a lot of great chats when I sat on the toilet or took a shower. As an adult, my imagination drives my creative pursuits. It also fuels my fantasy-prone mind. Through therapy and self-reflection, I uncovered that my brain is vulnerable to fantasy as a coping mechanism. Perhaps as a way to regulate as a child, then during my 7-year relationship where I did not feel emotionally safe, my brain continued this and put on Broadway-level productions as a way to disassociate and escape, intensifying my brain's attraction to fantasy. Knowing that an aspect of my mind contributes to my artistic identity and also keeps me from being present is tricky to navigate. Learning to celebrate the creative flow of my imagination while softening my draw to disassociative fantasy is difficult. I haven't fully figured it out, but I'm trying. Here is how it starts. A seed is planted in my mind. This seed is sourced from something real, something from my reality that I see potential in. My brain gets carried away and starts watering the seed with the powerful hose of my imagination. Roots fiercely start spreading, reinforcing a narrative birthed from truth but foolishly perpetuated by fantasy. The narrative grows thicker and stronger until a whole garden blooms. When my most recent ex and I went our separate ways, I believed with my whole heart that we would find our way back together. The seed of this narrative was sourced from our original powerful connection. As we went our separate ways, my imagination tended to this seed. Even when I tried fighting this growing narrative, it continued to dig its roots deep into my mind. We will be together again. It is destiny that we make our way back to one another. My mind protected, nourished, and watered this narrative. It grew wilder and wilder until I had a luscious garden of all my hopes and dreams for our future love story. We will find our way back to each other. I've known for a while that this garden needs to die. This story needs to die. Some may say that holding on to the story is hard. For me, letting go of the story is much harder. Why? Holding on to the story serves as an energetic placeholder for the love and relationship that I desire. By having this narrative and feeling the presence of this garden, it gives the perception of this need being met, but not in reality, only in fantasy. In letting the whole garden die and letting the fantasy die, I can no longer ignore the longing and desire of my heart. There's no longer a pseudo garden there to make me feel safe. It's painful to feel the vulnerability of the longing. The other aspect that makes letting the garden die so damn difficult is the shame that I've tended to it at all, and how long I've tended to it. I was devoted to this garden. My palms and knees sunk into the soil as I pulled the weeds that may have threatened my precious roses. This garden took my time, my energy, and my resources. My stubborn disposition contributed to how long I tended to this garden. Part of me wanted to prove that I was not crazy, that this belief inside me wasn't nonsense. So, truth be told, there were a few things that kept me tending to this garden: my hopes and dreams, my determination and stubbornness, my shame and embarrassment. And lately, this garden started to die. A fire is ferociously sweeping through my garden. This narrative is burning to the ground. I'm resisting any last-minute urge to anxiously grab for the buckets of water to save my precious garden. I resist because it's time I let it burn. I have to let the garden burn. This is not the first time I've watched a narrative of mine die. It's agonizing and confronting. But I have proof that on the other side of the pain, among the ash, freedom and liberation await me. And when the last rose burns, and I'm left with a barren patch of soil, may no seeds be tended to here again until they are watered and nourished by reality instead of fantasy. Join the journey by trying these transformation questions and activities. Do you have a fantasy garden that you've been tending to? What keeps you from letting it burn to the ground? Ceremony time. Draw out this garden on a piece of paper. Add some words that speak to why you've held on. Now go burn the piece of paper.